for our CSBG quarterly call. Just a reminder to everyone to keep yourself on mute to cut down on some of that background noise. And this call will be recorded so that you can access it later, or your colleagues that may not be able to make it at this time. And the link will be posted to our CSBG grantee resources page. At the start of this call, we would like to make a land acknowledgement. So we've been making these land acknowledgements at the start of our calls and would like to further incorporate them into our processes. And we do this to offer recognition and respect to Indigenous communities, to create broader public awareness of the history that has led to this moment, and to begin to repair relationships with Native communities and acknowledge ongoing effects of colonization. So I'm here in Denver, and am situated on the traditional land of several Indigenous groups that include the Sioux, Ute, Cheyenne, and Arapaho peoples. And additionally, our reach extends throughout the state, covering the traditional land of various Indigenous groups and cultures who have stewarded this land throughout generations and continue to do so. We acknowledge and express respect and gratitude to these people. And we will be sending a bit of information with follow-up information on the call if you'd like to learn more about the Southern Ute and Mountain Ute tribes that are located, that are here in Colorado, and also information from the Colorado Commission of Indian Affairs. With that, I will move into the announcements section. Just wanted to take a quick second to give anybody that has any announcements that they'd like to make at the start of this call. Any announcements from the network? Okay, I guess, and with that, I'll do an announcement on my part. I sent this out information earlier this month or last month, but this is my last week with the Department of Local Affairs and working on the CSBG program. My last day is April 22nd, so it's coming up very quickly. And I wanted to express my gratitude to the network for all the work that you've done over the past 4 years in addressing poverty in your communities. I think we at the state office have a view, and I have a view that, you know, our role is to support that work that you're doing. And so I am grateful to have had the opportunity to be a part of that and to be able to participate in that and to get to know you all through this process. So I just wanted to, again, express my gratitude to you, and also hopefully we will be crossing paths at some point in the not too distant future. And also, you know, have said this personally, but wanted to express my appreciation to the Colorado Community Action Association for their really essential, you know, support that they provide to the state office. So appreciate being able to work with you over the past 4 years and to learn from you and to be a part of the work that you're doing in your community. With that, we will jump into the state office updates. And I would like to go ahead and share my screen to okay. Okay, moving into the state office updates, wanted to do a quick recap of the annual report process that we just went through. Thank you for all the work that you did in putting together those annual reports. Really appreciate the time. We know that it's a big lift, and appreciate your work in putting that information together. So some of you, or most of you, all of you should have received an email with questions on the 2020 program year annual report. So that was the report that you submitted at the start of 2021. and unfortunately, we just got back that feedback from the Office of Community Services with questions about some of the data that was submitted. So Alex, those emails would have come from Alex Diaz with items that needed to be corrected. Those corrections should be made in the THO system. You can access the 2020 report by when you're logging in and you hit that first CO report button. It will give you the option of selecting the year that you would like to view. And so in order to make adjustments to that, you will just need to select 2020, and then you can enter your login information and access the 2020 report to make any of the adjustments that were required. We apologize that that is happening so far after you submitted your 2020 reports, but that's when the information came through from OCS. You know, we know that you had just wrapped up the 2021 annual report process, so it was probably not your favorite thing to jump back into looking at data from over a year ago. But we do really appreciate you making those adjustments, and just wanted to give a chance for Josiah to jump in here as well, because I understand that not every entity had revisions that were required.
Yeah, that's correct, Alex. So if you did have any questions or comments or revisions required after the federal office at OCS reviewed your data for 2020, you would have received that email from Alex Diaz. So those of you that didn't receive an email, congratulations, no review items from our federal office, which is definitely something we should celebrate, and you should celebrate. Thank you.
Yeah, and the review that we do initially before we submit it to our federal partners really helps us to cut down on the number of issues that we get back from OCS. So we're really glad that we have that as a part of our process, and that it kind of cuts down on that major review that we need to conduct. With the 2021 program year annual report, again, we really appreciate you submitting that with both the CARES report as well. And we submitted that data onto the federal government, and we need to do a couple of adjustments for some XML files that didn't go through properly, but we were able to submit that on time. So really, again, appreciate your support and your prompt response for, you know, some of the review items that Josiah sent back to you. We also, that information will be reviewed by OCS at some point, hopefully in the not too distant future, and we've expressed to them the importance of getting a timely review of that data. So we're hoping to get any review memo back from them in the coming program year, so that that's completed before we move into submitting the 2022 annual report at the start of next year. We wanted to just give a quick opportunity for you to provide us any feedback around the annual report process. If there's anything about the process that you feel we could make adjustments to for next time. If you feel comfortable putting those into the chat, or you know, unmuting yourself and letting us know, we'd love to hear your feedback about that. And you can send that through by email to Alex or Audrey if you do have other comments that you'd like to let us know. And just wanted to talk a little bit about the proposed timeline for the 2022 program year annual report. We are looking at making an adjustment to when that report is due to the state office to give us a little bit more time for the review process, and also to give you, the eligible entities, more time to respond to any feedback or questions that we have. So we're not, you know, getting down to, you know, needing a response back with you within a, you know, a short period of time. So we feel that, you know, giving us a little bit of extra time to kind of work through that process before submitting it to our federal partners would make everybody's life a little bit easier and calmer at the start of the program year. So what we had proposed or what we are thinking about is having the annual report submitted on February 15 to give us an extra 2 weeks for that review process. Last year it was due or this year it was due on the last working day of February. And so we just wanted to see if that would be an issue for any of you, or if you had any feedback about that proposed, potentially moving that submission date for the annual report. Yeah, and just wanted to note, we'll get into this a little bit with the organizational standards, but understanding that this was a lot to happen at the start of this year with the organizational standards being due, that process was delayed by the procurement process that we had to go through, and realizing that that was all happening at one time really created a little bit of a logjam for a bunch of things that were required at once. And so that's where we wanted to build a little bit of time into that process to give you and us some time to complete the reviews and give you ample time, to take a look at our review recommendations and resubmit. So. Great. Well,
did you want to formally poll
ahead.
folks on whether the 28th or 15th is better, or no?
If that's an option, I think we didn't have something pulled up for that, but we can, if we can put something together, maybe that would be helpful to do during this call.
Yeah, I'll put it in the chat, folks. If you don't mind just going to Menti real quick through the link that's in the chat, and you can give us your feedback on which is the better report due date in your mind, February 15th or February 28th on an annual basis.
Great, and we'll give you a quick chance to click on that link and to give us your feedback about that. And in previous years, this has been not such an issue because we have not submitted. The federal government has extended the submission date for our annual report to submit to them, and so we've had a couple extra months that we've had to work with you on your data and get any feedback or any questions and make sure that we really have that put together. But this year there was no extension, and so we really had that month of time from when the annual report was submitted to us. We had 1 month before we had to submit that to our federal partners, and that was definitely a time crunch for us to get it completed within that time.
Definitely have results coming in. Alex, did you want me to share my screen real quick, or do you want to circle back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. If you'd like to share your screen real quick, I think we're getting a little bit of information on the 28th, some on the 15th. So, and understand that some of you are working with information from your subrecipients during that time, needing to collect that information during, January and February. So the 28th is better for you in that respect. And so, it looks like, the responses that we've gotten is that it's the 28th. We may take a look. I'll have to talk with Audrey and Alex, and they may take a look at that and see if there's a way that we could maybe have some of those entities that it's direct services that can submit that data earlier, work with you to submit that data earlier, and then some of the organizations that are not getting that data, that need to collect information from subs, being able to do that on the 28th. So, but I appreciate all of your feedback there. It's really helpful for us to know what things are like on your side. Whoops. Moving on to the organizational standards, we, with the logjam of the annual report, we have not fully completed the initial reviews, but I know that some of you have received feedback about the annual report and have resubmitted, and we'll be completing those in the next few weeks, so you should have a response for us about the organizational standards, and we'll have a chance to address some of the standards that were unmet. We also wanted to collect information from you through a Menti poll about the timeline for the next submission of the organizational standards. We had initially, we understand that the ideal time is not January, which they were due at this time or this year. And so we're looking at potentially having them due in October, which we had done in previous years, or maybe shifting that to the summer in July at a time, where maybe there isn't quite as much going on within the program year. So if you'd like, there's a Menti poll again in the chat for that if you would like to go in there and select, the time frame that would be the easiest for you with your, CSBG processes, and then also local organizational processes to complete that, feel free to, we're interested in your feedback about that. And if there's additional information, that would be helpful in kind of helping to understand why one date versus another works better, feel free to put that in the chat or send that to us by email. And just, we got a question in the chat about when the application is typically due. So the application is completed every 3 years, and the application is completed every 3 years, and it's due in October. So, before the start of the program year. So give a quick minute for a bit more information to come through or a bit more voting to come through. It looks pretty even on whether July 31st or October 31st will work best. So again, if you could send us some additional information on, why one date versus another will work better for you, and Audrey and Alex can kind of take that into account when, setting that submission date for the organizational standards going forward. Okay. Well, appreciate your feedback on that. That's really helpful for us. We also wanted to give you an update on the risk assessments. The risk assessments will be completed in May or June of this year, and entities that will be assessed as low risk will not be required to submit the full backup for the desk monitoring of September expenses. So we go through that desk monitoring process twice per year, and for entities that are assessed as being low risk, that they will not be required to do that full backup for their September expenses. And that's the request that's submitted in October for September expenses. And just wanted to remind everyone of the CSBG funds that are expiring later this year. So there's a couple of funds that are expiring later this year. There is the 2021 Formulaic Program Year Fund, so funds that you were allocated last year for the 2021 program year. There's also 2022 Discretionary Program Year Funds. So these are the for entities that receive multi-county service agency allocations. We award those come out of our discretionary funding and are awarded from the previous year, and so those have an earlier expiration date. And then also, of course, the CARES funds expire September 30th of this year. To be able to identify which program year funds are expiring, or which groups of funds that are expiring, and the amount that you have remaining, you can log into the grants portal, and under the budget section, you can view the balance for each budget line. And unfortunately, under the category and description, it doesn't allow you to fully see that title, that budget line title. But with that description, there will be the eligible service dates for those funds. So what we recommend is that you go into the grants portal under this section, take a look at the budget lines that you have funds remaining under, and if you rest your cursor over that description, you'll be able to see the full budget line title and see if those funds are expiring September 30th, 2020 of this year, or whether they extend into the next year. So if you have any questions about that, please feel free to reach out to us. And that gets into our spending plan section. So spending plans are due June 30th of 2022. We're using a little bit of an updated template for that to cover both the CARES and the regular CSBG funds, and we'll be sending this out following the call, and it will be posted to the grantee resources page as well. But if you can, the spending template is pretty straightforward. It's similar to what we've done in previous years, but we thought it would be helpful to actually reference the grants portal budget lines that were in the grant, that actually have the actual remaining balance there to help make sure that we're on the same page with those funds and provide a check for your fiscal staff to be able to make sure that they're aware of the funding that is there as well. So we have a section for the regular CSBG funds where you can list the budget line title, the current budget line amount in the grants portal, and then funds that you've expended but haven't drawn down from the grants portal yet. And then it will automatically calculate that at the end of this table, and then we'll give you the total amount of expiring funds. We also have that for the same section for the CSBG CARES funds. And then we get into questions on additional steps that will be required to spend down that funding, whether you anticipate any barriers, whether you need any technical assistance or training to put a plan in place to get those funds expended, and then whether you'll need to return any funds before they expire. We've already done some outreach to some of the entities that do have significant portions of their CARES allocation remaining, and we're really happy to do any work with you or provide any technical assistance around that. So feel free to email Alex or Audrey if you'd like to set up a time to talk through, or Josiah to talk through the remaining funding that you have for the CARES allocation. We also wanted to provide an update on our state plan goals. So in the state plan, we identify some state office goals, and we wanted to provide you regular updates throughout the 2-year state plan, which covers 2022 and 2023 on, the state plan covers 2022 and 2023. And we wanted to give you a bit of an update to keep you, informed about the work that we're doing at the state office to better serve you. So just to recap on the state plan goals, we have 4 of them. They're to promote more equitable CSBG programs and services, to make adjustments to streamline state processes and requirements, to support training and technical assistance with developing community needs assessment, and developing resources and providing training to eligible entities on the organizational standards. So under that first goal, we have started to do some work with the state office to better understand our role in promoting those equitable CSBG programs and services, and have made an effort to reach out to some of the organizations that are in serving Indigenous populations, and also, of course, incorporating land acknowledgements into our calls. And we are still working to better understand that and to identify how we can really carry that work forward. So we have started some work under this goal, but still have some ground to cover. The second goal, making adjustments to streamline state processes and requirements. We have been going through a really in-depth process to evaluate our monitoring processes and develop our capacity to provide training and technical assistance to CSBG eligible entities on particularly fiscal issues. And so we have made progress on that. We'll be covering that a little bit more over the next few months to really go in depth into what those program changes will be, and some of the ways that we believe we can collect the information on our side that's necessary to make sure that everything that needs to be happening is happening, but also hopefully cut down on some areas where you may have been providing duplicative information, to try to really minimize that. The next goal of supporting training and providing technical assistance with developing community needs assessments, that work is really going to be coming up in this coming year. Josiah will be talking about that in his section and throughout the rest of the year, we'll be releasing additional information on our efforts there. But we've started the process of putting together the data resource that we developed for the last community needs assessment process. And so we're looking forward to continuing to build on those resources and develop them for the next community needs assessment process. It feels like we just went through that a few years ago, and but it's coming up with new applications being due in 2023. So wanted to make sure that that was included in our state plan. The final goal is developing resources and providing training to eligible entities on the organizational standards. So over the past few years, we've really worked to standardize our review processes and put together documentation for our review process to really make sure that we have consistent requirements for the organizational standards and shifting over to a new vendor for that process. And we'd like to continue to develop outward-facing resources for eligible entities to, including both board meeting schedules and other resources to kind of help you to manage those organizational standards throughout the year. With that, I think that's the end of our state updates section.
Give folks a second. If you have any questions or comments for any of Alex's or Dola's items, maybe good to bring it up now, and we can table it if we need to. Great. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Josiah Massengale, Executive Director of the Colorado Community Action Association. Really appreciate being with you all this afternoon virtually. Before I get started in our agenda items for our call, I'd like to specifically recognize Alex Versio and his time and effort and the great guidance and support that you provided our network, Alex, not only within the state, and I think you've done some remarkable work at the state office and around the program and really helping to streamline things and make things more straightforward, while also making sure that we're doing all of the necessary things that we're required to do, which we really appreciate, but at a national and a regional level as well. And for those of you that maybe don't get exposed to the regional or national perspective too much, Alex has really become a great expert in our industry and our network, and we're going to miss him greatly. So thank you, Alex. Our first agenda item is what we left off with Alex is the 2024-2026 three-year community needs assessment, community action plan, and application, all the training and resources that are going to go along with this. Just so you all are in the know, Alex mentioned the due date for this will be October 1st, 2023, unless determined otherwise, but generally it is that October 1st. It is going to be for the next three-year program period or contract cycle. So it'll be applicative and in place for January 1st, 2024 through December 31st of 2026. And it really drives the activities that you all, at least initially, are going to be planning to do for that contract period. So it's really important. It's also required by the CSBG Act at the federal level. The federal act requires that DOLA, the state office, receives from each of you, the eligible entities, a needs assessment and a community action plan at least every 3 years. And the needs assessment needs to be community-wide. It needs to be anti-poverty focused and poverty focused, specific to those types of issues. So there are some requirements around that, and I'll talk more about that in a moment. It's a really important part of the ROMA cycle. So not only is it required that we do this regularly in the federal act, but it's also a key requirement of us around our performance management framework, ROMA, where we complete what we plan to do and start to really evaluate that. And so we try to do that annually, but of course, as we move into the next three-year cycle, we really encourage you to do more evaluation. How did we do cumulatively in the past 3 years? And then use that to really jump into the needs assessment process, which will then lead into the planning process, which is the community action plan, which is specifically how you're going to plan to spend your CSBG allocation each year for the next 3 years. So very important stuff. It needs to have your tripartite board or your tripartite advisory committee's involvement. They're incredibly important in this process, and they really need to be integral part of the entire process, not only going through the needs assessment and getting it accepted by them, but also creating the community action plan and getting that accepted by them as well, along with what will eventually be your application to DOLA that you'll do through the grants portal with all of this information. So we'll want to take time to plan out how you're going to involve your tripartite board. And the nature of the community needs assessment, and keeping in mind that it does need to be community-wide and very anti-poverty in general, from a focus, at least initially, we really want to plan out to be able to accomplish this. And we know that it's going to take some time, so we want to start talking about it now, even though it's not due until October 1st of 2023. And so we will be creating a lot of resources for you all, and we'll be doing trainings and technical assistance. So we'll start to kick off some webinars where we'll go through what the key requirements of the needs assessment community action plan are. We'll start to provide technical assistance to anybody that needs one-on-one time with us, or in conjunction with our state office partners to go over various parts of the needs assessment, everything that really needs to happen during that needs assessment community action plan process. Those of you that have gone through this before, and those of you that are really required and responsible for the organizational standards, will know that the organizational standards are a great place to go to find what all of the requirements of the needs assessment are. The org standards collectively have all of the needs assessment requirements involved in there, and also many of the community action plan requirements. So reviewing those org standards items can give you a really, really good idea of what is needed to be accomplished during the needs assessment process, the community action plan process, and what data needs to be collected, considered, evaluated, and then used to plan out what you're going to do with it. Want to also remind you all that going through the needs assessment process and the community action plan process, you can support those with CSBG funds. It would be considered an agency capacity building strategy. And everybody went through the report recently. You'll remember in Module 2, Section A, when you report how you spend the funds, if you report spending funds on agency capacity building, the community needs assessment is one of the areas that you can then check as being what you did with those agency capacity building funds. So it is something that you can use CSBG funds for, either internally for staff time and salary, or externally, for instance, through a contractor or a vendor to put together information for you. You'll want to make sure that you make note of that in the budgeting and contracting process for the FY 2023 period. And that's going to be again kicked off by our partners over at DOLA in the fall, where they'll ask you for changes to your budget and potential changes to any contract language that need to take place for the January 1st, 2023 program period start date. So do keep that in mind if you're starting to think about the needs assessment, community action plan process, and you're thinking that it's going to take some staff time outside of what you're maybe usually budgeting around the program costs. You can certainly consider including some specific funds to support some staff time around that, or again, an outside contractor or vendor. Any questions on the needs assessment, community action plan, or application, or comments? I know it is definitely something that takes up a lot of time and effort, especially on your all end. I can't tell you how appreciative we are of that time and effort. And again, we think this is an incredibly important process and an opportunity for us to go out there and make sure that we're having as great of an impact as possible with CSBG in our local communities. And this is really the start of the process to be able to make that determination. So thank you for all your time in advance on doing that. And I am going to send it over to Blake Duvall and Liz Espinoza with the CCA to talk a little bit about the volunteer income tax assistance program.
Thank you, Josiah and Alex. And a big thank you to all of our VitaSite partners. Just wanted to give them a big shout out with the filing season ending yesterday. Great program supporting Coloradans. There will be continued outreach for the Earned Income Tax Credit and Child Tax Credit. So please be on the lookout for that, because that is a focus of Governor Polis and the IRS as well. CCAA will be turning its focus towards next year and looking towards potential new partners. So there's already some overlap between the VITA network in Colorado and the CSBG network, but we would always welcome any CSBG partners if that's another service that they would like to look into. We also have options for potentially hosting a site where the volunteers are already in place, or even a one-time pop-up event. So please let us know if you're interested in being a partner for that, or for the EITC and CTC outreach efforts. And we do have a sort of a brief introductory training as well, a brief little 1 hour presentation that we can give to anybody in any communities that might be interested in potentially becoming part of the VITA program. So just again, another great statewide, nationwide network and program that we like to remind all of you about. That's really a great resource for our clients. So thank you.
Thanks, Blake and Liz, for all of your effort on that program. Any questions or comments for Blake and Liz about VITA? While we're waiting for those to maybe come in and chat, or you can raise your hand or chime in, just want to also ask you all to keep on the lookout for any potential volunteers for that program. The volunteers are what make that program work, outside of Blake and Liz and all their tremendous work they do with it. And we need a continual injection of new volunteers whenever possible in all the communities we serve. So if you know of somebody looking to volunteer somewhere and they might be interested in preparing folks' taxes after they've been provided with really great training by the IRS and they're certified by the IRS, please reach out to us. We're always looking for new volunteers and new site coordinators to help manage these VITA sites throughout Colorado. What a wonderful program, and thanks Blake and Liz and all our VITA sites. All right, we're moving on to the Region 8 customer video for our Region 8 conference that is taking place in Breckenridge, July 20th, well, actually technically July 19th through the 22nd. Hope you all are planning on attending. We'll talk more about that in a moment here, but we, just like we did at the 2019 conference that we hosted in Colorado Springs, which seems like forever ago, back in July of 2019, we're looking to do a customer video of Region 8 customers to talk about their experience during COVID and how responses really need to be laid out for us to recover from COVID, particularly with a lens on how agencies and communities and the community collectively can really support low-income families as we move through recovery from COVID. And so just wanted to give you a quick taste of what the 2019 video looked like real quick. Just play a couple of seconds here.
Josiah, I don't think the sound was shared.
Well, I apologize. The sound didn't work for me. Of course, there's going to be a technical difficulty. I was really getting moved already in the first couple seconds of the video. It's a great video. You can check it out on our website. Go to coloradocommunityaction.org. Go to the conferences and trainings menu, and then at the bottom of that web page, you'll see the video and you can take a look at it. It's pretty quick. We're looking at doing a similar video for our Region 8. We would love to have Colorado customers. So your customers that you folks have supported through the pandemic, that you may be supporting today, maybe not supporting, but anybody that you think would be good, has some good story for us, might have good insight for our network and for all of the agencies that are collectively going to be at the conference. This video will be made available on our website following the conference, so it will be something that the public can view. And we're really excited about this project. So we're looking for at least 2 or 3 customers from Colorado to lend their voice to this video for us that is going to be publicly released at the conference in July. We do have a stipend of $40 for folks to be involved in this. And it's going to be coordinated by the Financial Health Institute. So Dr. Joanne McLean, which I think many of you know over at FHI, is going to be managing and coordinating this for us. She's going to be working with agencies, if need be, to set up a space for their customers to come in and do the interview and record the video, and then they'll be editing the video for us. And again, we'll be releasing it at the conference July 20th. So really excited about this project and hope that we get some really great voices from Colorado along with the rest of the region. And again, encourage you all, if you have any leads for us on really good customers that we should consider and reach out to, please let us know. And thank you. Next item, we wanted to just do a real quick debriefing on the Community Action Partnership Management and Leadership Training Conference that took place at the end of January. Takes place every year at the end of January. This year it was done virtually, but in most years, or all years outside the pandemic, it's in person. Really great training for all community action leaders and executives, board members, etc. The Community Action Partnerships webpage seems to be down today, so I can't bring it up to show you all, but it was a really great program. As usual, really great insight into where community action is headed. Big emphasis on equity and inclusiveness and diversity, which will mirror at our conference as well, and which you saw was mirrored in our state plan. A lot of really great information about how our network responded and continues to respond to COVID and the response and recovery around COVID. For all of you that maybe are looking for ideas on how to spend down CSBG funds between now and September, the partnership has put together a really great document that outlines really innovative strategies that can be put in place to address various types of needs that can help to use CSBG funds in your community. And we, of course, want to use those funds in your community. So let us know how we can help around that. And let us know if you have any question about the partnership or their MLTC. We always encourage folks from Colorado to attend that. Likewise, we want to give an update on the NASCAS, National Association for State Community Services Programs. They're our state office membership organization. They had their annual midwinter conference in February, and it's always a really great conference to attend and get an idea of what is coming down the pipeline from our federal partners. Because NASCAS represents the state office network like DOLA, and DOLA is the one that contracts with the Federal Office of Community Services, the NASCAS conferences are always a really great place to go and hear what our federal partners are really looking forwards to. And again, this year, it was that for us with a heavy track of Federal Office of Community Services updates, and they were really good. I think what I heard from our federal partners primarily is they're looking at really engaging the network around issues of poverty. They want to hear how they can provide as much support to us at the state and at the local level as possible. And they, of course, as always, want to know what the impact of CSBG is. And that's one of our main concerns too. So we see eye to eye on that. And then one of the things I took away from this conference as well is that actually the Colorado Energy Office, Stephanie, who is the outreach coordinator over there, and I can't recall her last name specifically, so I won't mess it up, in a recording, but Stephanie, the outreach manager over at the Colorado Energy Office, also had a webinar presentation talking about Colorado's weatherization assistance program. And I just want to shout out to the Colorado Energy Office and remind you all that weatherization assistance program money, weatherization funds, are available to all 64 counties throughout Colorado. And if you have customers that might need weatherization services and might be eligible, please do recommend that they go to the Colorado Energy Office website, check out who the 6 grantees are for the state, and encourage them to apply if it's appropriate and makes sense. But really great to see that presentation by our Colorado Energy Office at the NASCAS conference this year. We do have some special trainings that we are starting to get out there. Hopefully you all received an invite to our May Introduction to Roma virtual training. It'll be taking place over the last 2 Wednesdays of May and the first Wednesday of June for 3 hours in the morning. Please do share that with your stakeholders locally. Encourage folks to attend, especially board members if they're available. And we're looking forward to a really great turnout for that May Roma training. We'll probably look at doing another virtual Roma training sometime in August after we get through the conference in July. We're also lining up a couple other special training webinars for you all to take advantage of. You should have received an email last week regarding a Civil Rights 101 training. Again, we're going to partner this year, just like we did last year, with the Department of Regulatory Agencies, or DORA, at the state level. DORA has a civil rights division that provides education and training on civil rights. It's one of the major requirements that we always hit on when we do our 3-year monitoring visits with you all is ask you, what kind of training you and your staff and board have available around civil rights and other types of major requirements in the program. And we always hear that the Civil Rights 101 training and the non-discrimination training is really oftentimes difficult to get locally. And so we've created this process by which we work with DORA to bring you a Civil Rights 101 non-discrimination training in a webinar format. So if you're available to attend that, we do encourage you to attend that. It's really informative, and we really appreciate CCRD for providing that training to us. And it's not listed on this webinar or on this presentation, but we are also working with Raja Hera, who's pretty famous in the housing circles in Colorado for a long time now. And Mr. Hera is going to be providing us with a webinar on the Colorado Housing Leadership Academy. This is a new academy that Mr. Hera and others around the state are creating to foster a new generation of leadership around housing and housing issues in Colorado. And so we're going to be offering that in late May, and we'll be getting that email out to you all very shortly. So be on the lookout for that. Mr. Hera will also be presenting at our conference in July in Breckenridge as well on some housing issues. So really excited about that. Lastly, just some internal items we want to remind you all of. We do have scholarships available for training, professional development, and capacity building. If you all have folks that want to attend the conference, they just can't quite make it happen financially, please do apply, encourage them to apply for a scholarship from us. If you all are spent down on all your various CSBG funds and have some type of a capacity building need that you could use some funds for right now, apply for a scholarship from us for some organizational capacity building. You can find the application and more information on our website. Thanks. As always, we really are encouraging folks that are looking to get certifications that are applicable to community action involved, and we always prioritize scholarship funds for those certifications. So things such as becoming a Roma trainer or Roma implementer, if you're interested in the Certified Community Action Professional certification, which we only have 2 of in Colorado, that's really great, as well as going through other train the trainer certifications such as the poverty simulation type of train the trainer. So a lot of opportunity out there for scholarships and professional development and other certifications. We do have aroma training, as I mentioned. You can find the registration on our website for that. And we are releasing our schedule for the conference. The initial schedule, at least, it's still being built out, but we're going to be releasing that this week. And we're hoping that those that were on the fence about registering for whatever reason, find the schedule and think, yep, this is something that I want to be a part of during that week in July in Breckenridge. So be on the lookout for that. Really looking forward to releasing the schedule for the conference. We will be having our next membership dues period come open on July 1st. So it'll be for the 2022-2023 program period, starting July 1st. So you'll start to get emails out from us regarding that. And you can see our membership dues table here, which is based on the amount of CSBG funding you receive. We so greatly appreciate your support via being members. It's something that we hold up to our regional and our national and federal partners to show that we really do have buy-in and support from the CSBG network in Colorado, and that really means a lot to us. And while the money itself does not drive a lot of our general revenue, we do really use it to help us to make an impact throughout everything we do on an annual basis in Colorado. So thank you for that. We do want to remind you that if you have subrecipient agencies that you contract with CSBG, we encourage them to become members as well, and we encourage them to use the same table that you all use as well. If an agency is interested in becoming a partner agency, does not receive CSBG funding, we do have a membership level for that as well. And if you have low-income individuals in your community, tripartite board members that are interested, that want to become members, we have a free option for those folks if they would like to take advantage of that. So again, always really appreciate all of your support through your membership. We have some national trainings coming up that we want to remind everybody of. If you have some staff that are looking for training, especially specific to community action, these are really great opportunities. CapLaw is our legal representation membership organization out of Boston. They're doing their annual conference at the end of June 28th through 30th in Chicago, Illinois. One of the first conferences to get back to in-person in the Windy City. Should be a wonderful conference. Our own Liz Espinoza is planning on being there. Possible that Blake and myself might be attending as well. Encourage anybody that is interested to check it out. Again, if you want to attend and you just don't have the finances to be able to pull it off, send us a scholarship application for that, and our scholarship committee can review that and make a decision, and hopefully we'll be able to support you. Really want to have Colorado contingencies and Colorado representation at all of our national conferences. And that includes our National Community Action Partnership annual convention, always the last week before Labor Day in August. So this year it's going to be August 31st through September 2nd. And the city is so great, they named it twice. The city's so nice, they named it twice. That messed that up. New York, New York. So again, that's something that we want to have a real big Colorado contingent for. And if that's something that you or your stakeholders might be interested in but need some support for, please let us know. Not sure if we had a comment or question there. But let us know if we can support you in attending any of these. And NASCASP has their annual convention. Generally, it's in September. This year, we hear it's moved to mid-October, so that'll be October of 2022. And as soon as more information comes out on that, we'll be sure to let you all know about that. A couple of miscellaneous updates for you all. Our board of directors, so appreciative of their time. Their next meeting is going to be May 13th. 11 a.m. via Zoom. If you're interested in attending, the public is, of course, always welcome. Let us know and we'll get you that Zoom link. Liz Espinoza has been working very, very hard on updating the CCA website. We think it looks wonderful, but please do check out the new website. Lots of ways for you to be engaged and to learn more about what we're doing here. And one of the ways that we're going to continue to bolster that is we do have a couple of interns coming on board here in May from the University of Colorado at Boulder. We partnered with their one of their professional services offices that really works with folks that are going through and getting a poli-sci degree or some type of degree that would lend them to working in government or nonprofit. We got a couple of wonderful interns scheduled to join us in May. They're going to be working on social media, on communications plans, on our website, on marketing and outreach. And also working to document and really pull out some success stories that we've seen across our network over the past couple of years. So those of you that we've been working with around special projects, we have an intern that is going to be working specifically on putting together some papers, really highlighting some of the successes and the lessons learned through those projects. And we're really excited about that to take place over the next couple of months. As always, want to remind you that we have the online training courses that's available through the Region 8 Community Action Academy. So if you do need some online training or one of your board members, it's a great way to get orientation or some background on the program. That's free to anybody in our state. So please do remember that and put it out there. And then a plug for us to be able to accept cryptocurrency donations on the CCA's website now. Anybody that would like to drop us some Bitcoin or Dogecoin can certainly do that, and we'd always appreciate that. And you can find out more information on our webpage about that process. And as always, we over here at the CCA appreciate all of your efforts locally for what you're doing for your low-income families and your communities. And if there's anything we can do to support you, please let us know. With that, I'll turn it back over to Dola.
Yeah, thanks, Josiah. I think, as always, if you have any questions, reach out to us at the state office. You can contact Alex Diaz and Audrey, and of course, you have the contact information for the Community Action Association as well. So I think that's our agenda for today. Thank you so much for attending. Again, the recording will be posted to our grantee resources page, and I guess with that, I will close things up for the day, and appreciate all the work that you do for your communities, and have appreciated working with you as well.